The letter arrived on a Tuesday that changed everything. I was sitting in my barracks in Afghanistan, still in my dusty fatigues from patrol, when Martinez handed me the thin envelope with my mother's precise handwriting. The paper felt expensive between my fingers, the kind Mom always used for important correspondence. My name is Laurel, and I'd been deployed for 8 months. 22 years old, serving my country while my family lived their comfortable suburban life back home. I thought I knew what that life looked like. I was wrong. The letter was 3 sentences long, 3 sentences that demolished everything I thought I understood about my place in the world. Laurel, we've sold the house. The market was too good to pass up. We'll explain when you get back. Love, Mom. My hands started shaking before I finished reading. Sold the house? Our house? The Victorian with the wraparound porch where I'd spent every summer reading in the swing? Where I'd carved my initials in the oak tree out back? I read it again. Then again. The words didn't change. I grabbed my phone and dialed home, my fingers fumbling with the international calling card. It rang 4 times before Mom picked up. Laurel, this is expensive, honey. Make it quick. Mom, what do you mean you sold the house? A pause. Then that familiar sigh, the one that always preceded her explaining why I was being unreasonable. We told you we were considering it. The market's hot right now, and we got an offer we couldn't refuse. You never told me anything about selling. Where are you living? We're renting a lovely apartment downtown, much more practical, less maintenance. My throat felt tight, but that's my home, all my stuff. Your stuff is in storage. Really, Laurel, you're being dramatic. It's just a house. Just a house. The place where I'd grown up, where my childhood bedroom still had my track trophies and debate team certificates on the walls, where I'd planned to bring my future kids someday. Why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you at least tell me before you did it? Another sigh, longer this time. Because we knew you'd react exactly like this, selfishly. The word hit like a slap. Selfishly. Yes, selfishly. You're over there playing soldier while we're here dealing with real life. The house was too much for us to handle, and frankly, we needed the money. Needed it for what? Riker's starting his film production company. He's got real talent, Laurel, real vision. This could be his big break. Of course. My little brother Riker, the golden child who'd never held a job longer than 3 months, who'd dropped out of college twice and was currently finding himself through various artistic pursuits. So you sold my childhood home to fund another one of Riker's schemes? They're not schemes. Mom's voice turned sharp. He's an artist. He needs support to flourish. You wouldn't understand. You've always been so practical. Practical. Like it was a dirty word. I'm practical because I'm serving my country while we're investing in the future. Riker is the future of this family, Laurel. He's going to make something of himself. You chose to run off and play army instead of going to college like we wanted. The unfairness of it stole my breath. I'd joined the military because they couldn't afford to send me to college, because every penny of their savings had already been earmarked for Riker's education, which he'd promptly wasted. I can't believe you did this without telling me. We don't need your permission to make decisions about our own property. You're not a child anymore, Laurel. It's time you started acting like an adult. The line crackled with static, or maybe that was just the sound of my heart breaking. Besides, Mom continued, family means supporting each other. Riker needs this opportunity, and you owe it to family to understand that. I owed it to family. After everything I'd sacrificed, everything I'd given up, I owed them more. I have to go, I managed. Good. And Laurel? Try to be happy for your brother. This is his time to shine. The line went dead. I sat there in the desert heat, staring at the phone in my hand. Around me, the sounds of base life continued. Helicopters overhead, soldiers talking, the distant hum of generators. Normal sounds of my new normal life. but nothing felt normal anymore. I pulled out my wallet and found the photo I always carried, our family house taken last Christmas when I was home on leave. The porch light was on, warm and welcoming. Home. Except it wasn't home anymore. It belonged to strangers now. I stared at that photo until the edges blurred, and I realized there was nowhere left to return to. The next morning, I walked into Sergeant Rodriguez's office and signed up for every available course the base offered. "You sure about this, Warner?" Rodriguez looked at the stack of paperwork I'd just filled out. "Financial planning, real estate fundamentals, business management, computer programming. This is a lot on top of your regular duties." "I'm sure." He studied my face. Rodriguez had been deployed 4 times and could read soldiers like books. "Everything okay at home?" "Home's fine," I said. "I just want to make the most of my time here." That wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Home, as I'd known, it was gone. Time to build something new. The courses started that week. While other soldiers spent their downtime playing video games or writing letters home, I buried myself in textbooks, financial markets, investment strategies, property law. I devoured everything. 3 weeks into my academic marathon, I was in the computer lab researching mutual funds when Martinez dropped into the chair next to me. "Dude, you're becoming a hermit. When's the last time you came to movie night?" "I'm busy." "With what?" "You're not deployed to become an accountant." I gestured at my screen, which showed a comparison of index fund performance over the past decade. "Learning." "Learning what?" "How money works. How to make it work for me instead of the other way around." Martinez leaned back in his chair. "This about your family?" I'd told him about the house sale in a moment of weakness. Big mistake. This is about my future. Look, families are complicated. My family sold my childhood home to fund my brother's latest fantasy without even telling me. That's not complicated. That's simple. Martinez was quiet for a moment. Then, "So what's the plan?" I minimized the browser window and pulled up my email. I found a mentor. Her name was Poppy, and I discovered her through an online forum for military personnel transitioning to civilian careers. She was 55, self-made, and had built a real estate empire from nothing. Her bio said she'd started with a single rental property and now owned developments across 3 states. I'd sent her a cold email 2 days ago. She'd responded within hours. "Laurel, your situation isn't unique, but your response to it is. Most people let family betrayal break them. You're choosing to let it build you. I like that. Let's talk." Poppy. We'd scheduled our first video call for tonight. "A mentor?" Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Like a business mentor?" "Like someone who's been where I want to go." "And where's that?" I pulled up a real estate listing on my phone, a luxury development in Colorado with mountain views and price tags that made Martinez whistle. Somewhere they can't touch me. That evening, I sat in front of my laptop in the empty rec room, waiting for Poppy's call. When her face appeared on screen, she looked exactly like her photo. Silver hair pulled back, sharp eyes, expensive blazer, even though it was clearly evening where she was. "You look young," she said without preamble. "I'm 22. "Good. Young means hungry. Hungry means teachable." She leaned forward. "Tell me about your family situation, the real version, not the sanitized one." So I did. I told her about Riker's endless schemes, about my parents' favoritism, about coming home from deployment to find my bedroom furniture in a storage unit. "How much money do you have saved?" she asked when I finished. "About 15,000. "Military pay?" "Military pay, plus I've been living like a monk. No spending, no partying, no expensive habits." "Smart. What's your credit score?" 780. For the first time, she smiled. "Very smart. Most kids your age have destroyed their credit by now." "I'm not most kids." "No, you're not." She pulled up something on her computer. I'm sending you a reading list, books, websites, podcasts. You're going to consume all of it in the next month. Okay. I'm also sending you information about a real estate investment course that starts online next week. It's expensive, $3,000, but it's worth it. My stomach dropped. 3,000 was a huge chunk of my savings. I know what you're thinking, Poppy continued. It's a lot of money. But here's the thing about money, Laurel. You can't make it if you're not willing to invest it. Your family taught you that money flows to the person who needs it most. I'm here to teach you that money flows to the person who's smartest about attracting it. What if I fail? Then you'll fail with knowledge instead of failing with ignorance. Which would you prefer? I thought about my parents, probably sitting in their rental apartment right now watching Riker pitch his latest brilliant idea. I'll take the course. Good. One more thing. I want you to start a journal. Document everything. Your progress, your setbacks, your family's reactions when they realize what you're building. Trust me, you'll want to remember this journey. That night, I opened a fresh notebook and wrote my first entry. Day 1. They think I'm the expendable one, the practical one who'll always be there to clean up their messes. They're wrong. I will never need them again. One day, they will need me. And when that day comes, I'll be ready. 10 years later, I stood in the marble foyer of my latest development, watching caterers arrange champagne flutes for the grand opening party. The mountain views through the floor-to-ceiling windows were spectacular, but I barely noticed them anymore. Success had a way of making even beautiful things feel routine. The mayor's here, Sean announced, appearing at my elbow. My head of security was built like a linebacker but moved like a cat, along with half the city council and 3 state senators. Good. Make sure they get the full tour. Sean nodded and melted back into the crowd. I'd hired him 5 years ago when my first development started attracting the wrong kind of attention. Jealous competitors mostly. Now he was indispensable. Laurel, Poppy's voice cut through the cocktail chatter. She approached with a champagne flute in each hand, looking elegant in navy silk. This place is stunning. You've outdone yourself. I accepted the champagne but didn't drink. It's just business. Just business? She gestured at the soaring ceilings, the custom millwork, the imported Italian marble. Honey, this is art. Expensive art that happens to generate revenue. Around us, Colorado's elite mingled and admired what I'd built from nothing. Luxury condos starting at $2 million, penthouses pushing 8 figures. Every unit sold before we'd even broken ground. The Denver Post wants an interview, Poppy continued. Something about young entrepreneurs reshaping the skyline. No interviews. You can't stay invisible forever. Success this big attracts attention whether you want it or not. She was right, but old habits died hard. For 10 years, I'd built my empire quietly, letting lawyers and shell companies handle the public face while I stayed in the shadows. It had worked so far. Ms. Warner? A young woman in a server's uniform approached hesitantly. There's a call for you at the front desk. They said it was urgent. I frowned. Nobody had this number except my inner circle, and they were all here. Take a message. I tried, but they insisted, said they were family. The champagne flute nearly slipped from my fingers. Family. I hadn't spoken to my parents in 10 years, hadn't even told them I was back in Colorado. I'll handle it, Sean appeared beside me, having materialized from nowhere as usual. No. I set down my champagne. I'll take it. The front desk was tucked away from the party noise. I picked up the phone with steady hands. This is Laurel. Laurel? Oh, thank God. My mother's voice, older and more fragile than I remembered. We've been trying to reach you for weeks. How did you get this number? Your friend Amber gave it to us. She said you were back in town, that you were doing well. Amber. My childhood friend who'd become a social worker. I'd reconnected with her a few years ago, but kept my business life separate. Apparently not separate enough. What do you want? We need to see you. It's important. I'm busy. Please, Laurel, we're in trouble, real trouble. Something in her voice made me pause. This wasn't the confident, dismissive woman who'd lectured me about family obligations. This was someone desperate. What kind of trouble? Not over the phone. Can we meet tomorrow? I looked through the glass doors at my party, successful people celebrating another successful project. My world now. I'll call you back. Wait. I hung up and stood there for a moment, staring at the phone. Then Sean appeared beside me. Everything all right? Fine, just... My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo of two people standing outside the development's main gate, looking up at the building with expressions I couldn't quite read. It was my parents, older, grayer, wearing clothes that had seen better days. My father's shoulders were hunched in a way I didn't remember. My mother clutched a worn purse like a lifeline. Another text. We're outside. Please. Sean. My voice came out steadier than I felt. There are two people at the main gate, a man and woman, probably in their 60s. They're asking for me. Want me to send them away? I studied the photo again. These weren't the confident, dismissive parents who'd sold my childhood home. These were people who'd been broken by something. No, escort them to the penthouse, the private elevator. Sean's eyebrows rose slightly, but he nodded. You sure? I'm sure. He disappeared, and I returned to my party. The mayor was admiring the view. A state senator was asking about my next project, and Poppy was charming a group of potential investors. My world, humming along perfectly. But 20 minutes later, Sean reappeared at my side. They're here, he said quietly, in the penthouse. I excused myself from a conversation about zoning permits and took the private elevator up. The doors opened to reveal my parents standing in the middle of my living room, looking small and out of place among the designer furniture and original artwork. They turned when they heard the elevator, and I saw something I'd never seen before in my mother's eyes. Fear. Hello, Mom, Dad. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Laurel, this is your place? This is my building. The words hung in the air like a challenge. My father sank into the nearest chair without being invited. He looked like he'd aged 20 years instead of 10. His hair completely grey now, his face gaunt. My mother remained standing, but her usual perfect posture had crumbled. Your building, she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. You own this whole building? I developed it. I own it. I gestured toward the floor-to-ceiling windows. The view's nice, don't you think? She turned to look out at the city sprawling below us, then back at me. How is this possible? Hard work, smart investments, things you told me I'd never understand. My father cleared his throat. Laurel, we need to talk. So talk. My mother's composure cracked. It's Riker. He's gone. Gone where? We don't know. She pressed her hands together. He took everything. Everything we had left. I moved to the bar cart and poured myself a whiskey. Didn't offer them anything. Start from the beginning. My father's hands shook as he spoke. After you left for the military, Riker's film company, it seemed to be doing well. He was making connections, getting meetings. We invested more. How much more? The money from the house sale was just the start, my mother said. He needed equipment, office space to pay his crew. It all seemed so legitimate. We mortgaged the new apartment, my father continued, took out loans against our retirement accounts. Riker said he had investors lined up, that we'd get everything back tenfold. I sipped my whiskey. But you didn't. For a while, it looked like we might. My mother's voice was getting smaller. He showed us contracts, bank statements. He was so confident, so sure this was his big break. What happened? The investors were fake, my father said. The contracts were forgeries. The bank statements were photoshopped. He'd been running an elaborate con for 3 years. On his own family. On everyone. My mother finally sat down, collapsing more than sitting. His business partner, his girlfriend, her parents. He took money from anyone who'd give it to him. How much? My parents exchanged a look. How much? I repeated. 400,000, my father whispered. Maybe more. We're not sure of the exact amount. I set down my whiskey glass harder than necessary. $400,000. We lost the apartment last month, my mother said. We've been staying in a motel, but we can't afford even that much longer. And Riker? Disappeared 2 weeks ago. Cleaned out what was left of the business account and vanished. His phone's disconnected. His apartment's empty. I walked to the window and looked down at the city lights. Somewhere out there, my golden boy brother was probably planning his next con. Why come to me? Because you're family, my mother said, and for a moment her old commanding tone returned. Because family helps family. I turned around. Family helps family? That's interesting. Where was that philosophy when you sold my childhood home without telling me? That was different. Was it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've always helped one family member at the expense of another. My father struggled to his feet. Laurel, we made mistakes. We know that now, but we're desperate. How desperate? We have nowhere to go, my mother said. No money, no credit, no options. We're 60 years old and we have nothing. You have each other. You have your precious son's artistic vision. Don't be cruel. Cruel? I laughed, and it came out harsher than I intended. I spent 10 years building this from nothing while you funded my brother's fantasies. Now those fantasies have collapsed and suddenly I'm family again? We never said you weren't family. You sold my home. You told me I owed it to family to support Riker's dreams. You made it very clear where I ranked in your priorities. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We were wrong. We see that now. Do you? Or do you just see that your golden goose is gone and you need a new one? That's not fair. Fair? I picked up my whiskey again. Let me tell you about fair. Fair would have been asking me before you sold my childhood home. Fair would have been treating both your children equally. Fair would have been recognizing that I was the one with actual discipline and work ethic. You're right, my father said quietly. You're absolutely right. The admission hung in the air. My mother shot him a sharp look, but he continued. We favored Riker. We always did. We thought you were strong enough to take care of yourself. I was. I did. And now we need you to take care of us too. The honesty was startling. No manipulation, no guilt trips, just a broken old man admitting the truth. I finished my whiskey and set the glass down. Sean will escort you to your accommodations for the night. Accommodations? My mother perked up. I pressed the intercom button. Sean, please come up. What kind of accommodations? She pressed. The elevator doors opened and Sean stepped out. Sean, please show my parents to the staff quarters. The storage room on the 3rd floor has been converted to temporary housing. My mother's face went white. Storage room? It has a bed, a bathroom, and a small kitchenette. It's clean and warm. But surely it's what's available. Sean stepped forward. This way, please. As they walked toward the elevator, my mother turned back. Laurel, we need to discuss. We'll discuss everything tomorrow, over breakfast, 7 a.m. sharp. The elevator doors closed on their shocked faces. I poured another whiskey and stood at the window, looking down at my empire. Tomorrow we'd talk terms. At exactly 7 a.m., I walked into my private dining room to find my parents already seated at the mahogany table. They looked like they hadn't slept much. Good. Coffee? I gestured to the French press on the sideboard. Please, my father said. My mother just nodded. I poured 3 cups and sat at the head of the table. The morning light streaming through the windows, highlighted every line on their faces, every sign of their recent struggles. "How was your night?" "Fine," my mother said quickly. "Very cozy." "Good. I had the kitchen prepare breakfast." I pressed a button on the table, and moments later, a server appeared with covered dishes. Eggs Benedict, fresh fruit, artisanal pastries, the kind of breakfast that cost more than they'd probably spent on food in weeks. We ate in silence for several minutes. Finally, my mother set down her fork. "Laurel, we need to discuss our situation." "Our situation?" "Our living arrangements. Our future." I cut into my eggs Benedict with surgical precision. "What about it?" "Well, obviously the storage room is just temporary. You were thinking I'd set you up in one of my luxury units?" My father shifted uncomfortably. "We were hoping we could work something out as a family." "Interesting. Tell me about this family concept." Because 10 years ago, family meant selling my home to fund Riker's dreams. "What does it mean now?" "It means starting fresh," my mother said, her voice gaining strength. "It means putting the past behind us and moving forward together." "Starting fresh? Like a clean slate?" "Exactly." I set down my fork and leaned back. "That's generous of you, offering to forget the past." "We all made mistakes." "Did we? What mistakes did I make exactly?" My parents exchanged glances. My father cleared his throat. "You were distant. After you joined the military, you didn't stay in touch. I called every week for the first 2 years. You were always too busy with Riker's latest project to talk." "That's not how we remember it." "Of course it isn't." I stood and walked to the window. "Tell me about Riker's other schemes, the ones that came after the film company." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been keeping tabs on our family for 10 years. I know about the restaurant that never opened, the tech startup that existed only on paper, the art gallery that was just a front for money laundering." My mother's face went pale. "How could you possibly—" "Money talks, Mom, and when you have enough of it, people tell you things. Interesting things." I turned back to face them. "Did you know Riker was arrested in Phoenix last year?" "Fraud charges. He got out on bail and skipped town." "That's impossible." "Is it? Because I have the arrest record right here." I pulled out my phone and showed them the mugshot. Riker, looking older and harder than the golden boy they remembered. My father stared at the photo. "When was this?" 14 months ago. He was running a fake investment scheme. Promised retirees he could double their money in 6 months. "You're lying." "Am I?" I swiped to the next photo. "This is from his arrest in Seattle 3 months ago. Same scam, different victims." My mother grabbed the phone, her hands shaking. "This can't be real." "Your precious son is a career criminal, Mom. He's been running cons across the country for years. You weren't his first victims. You won't be his last." "But he called us just last month," my father protested. "He said he was working on a new project in California." He was. A new project called bilking elderly investors out of their life savings. I took my phone back and sat down again. "The FBI has a warrant out for him. Interstate fraud, wire fraud, identity theft. When they catch him, and they will, he's looking at 20 years minimum." My parents sat in stunned silence. "So let's talk about family," I continued. "Let's talk about how you mortgaged your future for a son who's been lying to you for years. Let's talk about how you chose him over me again and again, even when the evidence was right in front of you." "We didn't know," my mother whispered. "You didn't want to know. There's a difference." My father's voice was barely audible. "What do we do now?" "Now? Now you live with the consequences of your choices." "But we have nothing. You have each other. You have your memories of all those family dinners where you praised Riker's vision and dismissed my practicality." "Laurel, please." "Please what? Please bail you out like you never bailed me out? Please treat you like family when you never treated me like family? I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small brass key, placing it on the table between us. This is the key to your new home. My mother's eyes lit up. A condo? The storage room. You can stay there as long as you follow my rules. What rules? No contact with Riker. No attempts to help him when he inevitably calls asking for money. No discussing my business with anyone outside this room. And if we agree? Then you have a roof over your heads and 3 meals a day. You'll work in the building, maintenance, cleaning, whatever needs doing. You'll earn your keep. My father straightened slightly. You want us to be your employees? I want you to understand what it means to work for what you have instead of expecting it to be handed to you. This is humiliating. This is reality. The same reality I've been living in for 10 years while you lived in Fantasyland. My mother picked up the key with trembling fingers. And if we refuse, then Sean will escort you to the street and you'll never see me again. The key seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds in her palm. How long do we have to decide? I checked my watch. You have until I finish my coffee? My mother clutched the key like it might disappear. We accept. Good. Sean will show you to the maintenance office after breakfast. You start today. Today? My father looked startled. Today. The building doesn't run itself. I was finishing my coffee when my phone buzzed. Amber's name appeared on the screen. Excuse me. I stepped away from the table. Hello, Amber. Laurel, I need to talk to you about your parents. What about them? They came to see me yesterday, before they went to you. They were desperate, really desperate. I glanced back at my parents, who were whispering urgently to each other. And? They asked me to intercede, to convince you to help them. What did you tell them? I told them I'd give them your number, but that was all I could do. Laurel, they looked terrible, like they hadn't eaten in days. They're eating now. Are you helping them? I'm giving them what they deserve. A pause. What does that mean? It means they're learning what it's like to work for a living instead of living off other people's dreams. Laurel, I have to go. I'll call you later. I hung up and returned to the table. My parents had stopped whispering and were watching me carefully. That was Amber, I said. She's concerned about you. She's a good friend, my mother said. She is. To me, she was the only person who stayed in touch after you made it clear I wasn't welcome in this family anymore. We never said you weren't welcome. You didn't have to say it. Actions speak louder than words. I pressed the intercom button. Sean, please come up. While we waited, I pulled out a manila folder I'd prepared earlier. Before you start your new jobs, there's something else you need to see. What is it? Documentation of every lie Riker told you, every fake contract he showed you, every forged bank statement he used to steal your money. I spread the papers across the table. Bank records, police reports, victim statements from his previous cons. This is from the Phoenix case. He convinced a retired teacher named Margaret to invest her entire pension, $60,000. She's living in a nursing home now because she can't afford her own apartment. My father picked up one of the statements. This says he used our address as a reference. He did, multiple times. Your names are all over his paperwork as character references. But we never, of course you never. He forged your signatures too. I pointed to another document. This is from Seattle. He told investors he came from a wealthy family in Colorado, showed them pictures of your old house, claimed it was the family estate. My mother's face crumpled. Our house? The house you sold to fund his first con. He's been using it as a prop ever since. The elevator doors opened and Sean stepped out, but I held up a hand to stop him. There's more, I continued. The girlfriend he mentioned? Sarah? She's in witness protection. He threatened her when she tried to expose him. Threatened her how? He said he'd hurt her family if she testified against him. The FBI had to relocate her. My father set down the papers with shaking hands. This can't be our son. This is exactly your son. This is who he's always been. You just refused to see it. But he was so charming, so convincing. Sociopaths usually are. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. He's not a sociopath, my mother protested weakly. He's just lost. Lost? I laughed bitterly. Mom, he's destroyed dozens of lives. He's stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's threatened witnesses. This isn't someone who's lost. This is someone who's exactly where he wants to be. Sean cleared his throat. Mom, you called for me? Yes. Please escort my parents to the maintenance office. They're starting work today. Of course. As my parents stood to leave, my mother turned back. What if he calls? What if he needs help? Then you remember that helping him means becoming an accessory to his crimes. But he's our son. He stopped being your son the day he decided to destroy your lives for his own benefit. My father put his arm around my mother's shoulders. Come on, Stacy, we need to go. They walked toward the elevator, my mother still clutching the key to their new life. Just before the doors closed, she looked back at me one more time. Laurel, I know you hate us, but please, if something happens to him, you'll read about it in the newspaper like everyone else. The doors closed. I gathered up the papers and put them back in the folder. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hey sis, heard mom and dad are staying with you. Family reunion. Can't wait to catch up. Ah. I stared at the message for a long moment, then forwarded it to Sean with a note. Increase security. He knows where we are. Then I blocked the number and poured myself another cup of coffee. The game was just getting started. 3 days later, I was reviewing security footage when Sean knocked on my office door. We have a problem. I looked up from the monitors showing my parents mopping floors and emptying trash cans. They'd adapted to their new roles faster than I'd expected. What kind of problem? Your brother's been spotted in the area. 2 different sightings in the past hour. My blood went cold. Where? Coffee shop across the street, then the parking garage next door. He's watching the building. I stood and walked to the window. The street below looked normal. Pedestrians, traffic, nothing suspicious. But Riker had always been good at hiding in plain sight. Have you told my parents? Not yet. Wanted to check with you first. Don't tell them. Not yet. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Don't answer it, Sean said. I answered anyway. Hello, Riker. Laurel. God, it's good to hear your voice. You look amazing, by the way. Success suits you. Where are you? Close enough to see you're doing well for yourself. That's quite a building you've got there. What do you want? Can't a brother just want to reconnect with his sister? It's been too long. 10 years isn't long enough. He laughed, and it sounded exactly like I remembered. Charming, disarming, completely fake. You always were the dramatic one. Look, I know mom and dad are with you. I just want to see them. No. Come on, Laurel. They're my parents, too. They're your victims. There's a difference. That's harsh, even for you. Is it? Because I have FBI reports that say otherwise. The line went quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. The charm was gone, replaced by something colder. You've been busy. I've been thorough. Well, here's the thing, sis. I don't really need your permission to see them. Actually, you do. This is private property, and you're not welcome here. We'll see about that. The line went dead. I turned to Sean. Lock down the building. Nobody gets in without my approval. Already done. What about your parents? Bring them up here, now. 10 minutes later, my parents stood in my office, still wearing their maintenance uniforms. They looked tired but healthier than when they'd arrived. Sit down, I said. What's wrong? My mother asked. Riker's in town. He's been watching the building. My father went pale. He called us yesterday. We didn't answer. Good. He's going to try to contact you again. When he does, you're going to refuse to see him. But he's our son. He's a federal fugitive who's destroyed your lives. If you help him in any way, you become accessories to his crimes. My mother twisted her hands. What if he's in trouble? What if he needs help? Then he can turn himself in to the FBI. Laurel, please. No. I stood and walked to the window. I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to listen carefully. Riker isn't the son you remember. He isn't the charming boy with big dreams. He's a predator who's spent years perfecting his ability to manipulate people who love him. That's not true, isn't it? He stole $400,000 from you. He forged your signatures. He used your home as a prop in his cons. He threatened a woman who tried to expose him. My father's voice was barely a whisper. We know. Do you? Because you're still making excuses for him. He's our child, my mother said. You can't just stop loving your child. You can stop enabling them. A soft knock interrupted us. Sean entered with a grim expression. He's here, in the lobby. My parents both stood. We should go down. You should stay right here. I turned to Sean. How did he get past security? Delivery uniform. Fake ID, he's good. Not good enough. Have him escorted out. Already tried. He's demanding to see his parents, says he won't leave until he does. I looked at my parents. My mother's face was torn between hope and fear. My father just looked defeated. One meeting, my mother pleaded, just to see that he's okay. He's not okay. He's never going to be okay. And if you see him, he'll convince you to help him. That's what he does. We won't. You will. Because despite everything he's done to you, you still see him as your little boy instead of the criminal he's become. My phone buzzed with a text. Tell Mom and Dad I'm not leaving without seeing them. We can do this easy or hard, your choice. I showed them the message. He's threatening us, my father said. He's threatening me. You're just collateral damage. I walked to my desk and pressed the intercom. Sean, call the police. Tell them we have a trespasser who's refusing to leave. Wait, my mother said. Maybe if we just talk to him for a few minutes. No, he's our son. And I'm your daughter. The words exploded out of me. I'm the daughter who served her country while he was learning to be a con man. I'm the daughter who built an empire while he was destroying lives. I'm the daughter who's giving you a roof over your heads while he's trying to drag you down with him. The room fell silent. So you have a choice, I continued, my voice deadly calm. You can be his parents, or you can be my employees, but you can't be both. My mother looked at my father, then back at me. What happens if we choose him? Then you leave with him, right now, and you never come back. And if we choose you, then you stay here, you follow my rules, and you let the police handle Riker. My father straightened his shoulders. We choose you. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Good. I picked up my phone. Sean, have the police arrest him for trespassing. And Sean, make sure they know about the federal warrants. Through the window, I watched as police cars surrounded the building. The Golden Boy's luck had finally run out. I watched from my office window as they led Riker away in handcuffs. Even from 30 floors up, I could see him talking animatedly to the officers, probably trying to charm his way out of federal charges. Some things never changed. My parents stood beside me, silent. My mother pressed her hand against the glass like she could somehow reach him. He looked so thin, she whispered. Prison food will fix that. She flinched but didn't argue. My phone rang, Poppy's name on the screen. I saw the news, she said without preamble. FBI arrests fugitive at luxury development. Your development. News travels fast. Are you okay? I looked at my parents, still staring down at the empty street where their son had been taken away. I'm fine. And your parents? They're learning. Good. Listen, I'm flying in tomorrow. We need to discuss the Phoenix project. Can't it wait? Laurel, you just had a federal fugitive arrested at your property. The media's going to be all over this. We need to get ahead of the story. She was right. Success meant visibility, and visibility meant scrutiny. Fine, tomorrow at 10. I hung up and turned to my parents. You should go rest. Tomorrow's going to be difficult. What happens now? My father asked. Now you go back to work. Nothing's changed. Everything's changed, my mother said quietly. Our son is going to prison. Our son was already a criminal. Now he's just a criminal who got caught. She turned away from the window. How can you be so cold? How can you still be so naive? He's your brother. He stopped being my brother the day he chose to destroy your lives for his own benefit. My father put his arm around my mother. Come on, Stacy, let's go. After they left, I poured myself a drink and stood at the window. The city sparkled below me, full of lights and possibilities. I'd built all of this from nothing, brick by brick, deal by deal. It was mine in a way that nothing had ever been mine before. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber. Saw the news. Are you okay? I called her back. That was your brother? She asked immediately. That was Riker. Jesus, Laurel, I had no idea he was... the news said federal charges, multiple counts, fraud, identity theft, witness intimidation. He's looking at 20 years minimum. And your parents? They're here, working for me. Working for you? Maintenance staff. They're earning their keep. A long pause. That's harsh. It's fair. Is it? They're your parents. They're people who made choices. Now they're living with the consequences. Laurel, Amber, I spent 10 years building this life while they funded a criminal. I don't owe them anything. Maybe not, but you're giving them something anyway. I'm giving them what they deserve. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're giving them more than they deserve. You could have turned them away completely. I didn't answer. You put them up in your building. You're feeding them, housing them, giving them work. That's not revenge, Laurel. That's mercy. It's business. No, it's not. Business would have been letting them figure it out on their own. After I hung up, I walked out onto my private balcony. The mountain air was crisp, clean. Below me, the city hummed with life. I heard voices from the courtyard and looked down. My parents were sitting on a bench near the fountain, talking quietly. My mother was crying, but my father had his arm around her. They looked small and fragile in the vast space I'd created. As I watched, my mother looked up. Even from this distance, I could see her face clearly in the courtyard lights. She wasn't looking at me with anger or resentment. She was looking at me with something I'd never seen before. Respect. She raised her hand in a small wave. After a moment, I raised mine back. Then I went inside and closed the door. The next morning, Poppy arrived with her usual efficiency and 3 cups of coffee. How are you holding up? I'm fine. The media's calling you the millionaire daughter who brought down her criminal brother. Could be worse. Could be better. Actually, it couldn't. This makes you look like someone with integrity who puts justice above family loyalty. That's good for business. She was right. My phone had been ringing all morning with interview requests and new investment opportunities. There's something else, Poppy continued. I've been thinking about what you said when we first met, about never needing them again. What about it? You were wrong. I looked up from my coffee. Excuse me? You said you'd never need them again, but you do need them. I don't need anyone. Everyone needs someone, Laurel. The question is whether you need them as family or as employees. They're employees. Are they? Because employees don't get private penthouses when their criminal sons get arrested. Employees don't get personal security details. Employees don't get their boss standing at the window watching them with that look on her face. What look? The look of someone who's finally gotten everything she wanted and realized it's not quite what she expected. I set down my coffee cup. I got justice. You got revenge. There's a difference. Is there? Justice would have been letting them face the consequences alone. Revenge is making them face the consequences under your terms, in your building, where you can watch. And which one am I doing? Poppy smiled. Both, and that's what makes you interesting. She gathered her papers and stood. The Phoenix Project can wait. Take some time to figure out what you really want from all this. I know what I want. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've built yourself a very expensive prison. Beautiful views, luxury amenities, but still a prison. After she left, I walked back to the window. My parents were in the courtyard again, this time working. My father was trimming hedges while my mother swept the walkways. They moved with purpose, dignity even. They were earning their place here. My phone rang. Unknown number. This is Laurel. Ms. Warner, this is Agent Martinez with the FBI. I wanted to thank you for your cooperation in the Riker-Warner case. Just doing my civic duty. Your brothers agreed to a plea deal. 22 years, no parole. 22 years. He'd be 50 when he got out, if he got out. There's something else, Agent Martinez continued. He's been ordered to pay restitution to his victims. The court's freezing any assets he might have hidden. Good. The thing is, we can't locate any assets. He seems to have spent everything as fast as he stole it. Of course he had. Riker had never been good at saving anything. Money, relationships, opportunities. What does that mean for the victims? It means they're out of luck unless we can recover funds from other sources. After I hung up, I stood at the window for a long time, watching my parents work in the garden I'd designed, in the building I'd built, in the life I'd created from nothing. Then I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. I want to set up a victim restitution fund, I said, anonymous, for the people Riker defrauded. How much? I looked down at my parents, still working, still trying to rebuild something from the wreckage of their choices. All of it. Every penny he stole, plus interest. That's very generous. It's not generous, it's necessary. Because Poppy was right. I had built myself a prison, but unlike Riker's prison, mine had a door, and I was finally ready to walk through it.